Hello again and welcome back to some climbing news. Quite a few sends to report, particularly Ethan Salvo becoming the first ever Canadian climber to send 8C+/V16, Sam Weir's send of brain rot, more hard sends out of Rocklands, dipping culture potentially infecting the climbing industry, and more. So yeah, just a quick reminder to like, comment, subscribe if you haven't done so and want to help out the show, or, don't if you hate me. I won't take it personally, and yeah. Start the show. And starting us off today, we've got Dylan Chuat in the news with his send of change part 1, a 9A+/515A route. And yeah, you guessed it, Flat Anger, becoming the 7th person to ever send that particular route. And yeah, in case you're wondering, because I'm pretty sure you are, yes, change part 1 is the quote-unquote first pitch of the full mega route change 9B+ or 515C, first climbed by Adularia back in 2012, introducing the world to the grade, and which has only ever seen 4 repeats: Stefano Ghisolfi, Seb Buon, Alex Megos, and most recently, Jorge Diaz-Rullo. Now, as far as Dylan Chuat's opinion on change part 1's grade, he actually seemed to believe that a downgrade was appropriate. And honestly, a pretty wild one at that, claiming that the route isn't so much 9A+, but rather a mid-range 9A or 514D. And it's all because of a change of beta that's only really made possible with the use of knee pads that Dylan claims makes the crux boulder problem go from 8B+/V14, as Adam claimed originally, to more like 7C/V9, which is a huge friggin' change. No pun intended. But yeah, man, congrats to Dylan on that send. It's big work. Seems like the dude's going to be trying move 9B/515B next, which is a pretty big step up. Wondering whether or not the change to change part 1's grade is going to change his original grade. That was ridiculous. But hey, man, we'll see. And on we move to Briançon, France, and Bertone's little brother Max, who has just sent his very first 9A+/515A, or at least all the info I can find points to this being his first. At this point, who the hell knows, right? Like, a kid is killing it in the World Cups. He's more than strong enough to do harder stuff outdoors. He's just thinking comps right now, which is fair. Anyways, 7 total sessions to wrap this thing up, 3 from last year and now 4 this season, but apparently just a ton of time lost because of a bad hand sequence he was using on the second crux. It's easy to feel like you've been wasting time when that happens. I totally get that. It happened to me a few years ago on a boulder. Listened to my friend's suggestion to use a foot. He was wrong. I spent 2 hours trying, changed the foot, and then sent first go. Was it, nice to send? Yeah. Was I too tired, skin too destroyed to try other climbs? Also, yeah. Frustrating, but consolation prize is a consolation prize, and first ever 9A+ as far as consolation prizes go. This is a pretty good one. So yeah, man, big congrats to Max on a huge achievement. Just a few years ago, people would be freaking out that an 18-year-old kid was sending 9A+. Now it's practically commonplace, which is crazy. Anyways, and next, let's talk about Michiel Niewaenhuijsen. And, okay, dude, that's, I understand you got complex languages or whatever, but that's just too many. It's too many vowels, okay? Stop it. Why is there a J there? I know I'm coming off as pretty ignorant right about now, but, no. Honestly, there are only 2 things I hate in this world: the people that are intolerant of other people's cultures and the Dutch. Yeah, so if that doesn't get me canceled. Listen, I was quoting Austin Powers, okay? Keep your self-righteous indignation in your pants. Now, for real, Michiel Niewaenhuijsen, and I really hope I'm pronouncing that correctly because I, just came off as a person that hates the Netherlands, but he is from Rotterdam, the Netherlands, flattest country on the planet, so, is totally opposite of anything climbers are into. So complex language, no boulders. What am I supposed to say? Matter of fact, the tallest thing there is a place called the Valsburg, which, while beautiful, is only 300 meters above sea level, nearly 1,000 feet, basically. So, the, mills are really cool. The point is, this dude just sent a boulder called Adularia. It's 8C/V15. So, what's your excuse? Go on his Instagram, everything there that's up there, it's an outdoor boulder. And here I am complaining about a 45-minute car ride that I can't do because why exactly? because I suck. And Michiel does not, like, at all. Adularia is his 6th boulder of the grade. The dude sent in 3 sessions. And oh yeah, he's also sent 8C+. A dude from a place that doesn't have any boulders sent 8C+. La Révolutionnaire in Fontainebleau. Go climb outside, if you want to, at least. You have no excuse. He has no excuse. I have no excuse. We don't have excuses. Unless, you know, don't want to go climb outside. I don't know you. But seriously, congrats to Michiel though, for real. He's got one of the most impressive tick lists I think I've ever seen. Like, dude got the FA of Billières du Désert Assis in Font. That was a climb Jimmy Webb was trying years and years ago. This one, I highly recommend checking that one out, by the way. It's pretty cool. Which, and just kind of a side note, does anyone know what happened to Kevin Takashi Smith? He and Jimmy made the best videos a few years back, and the dude just stopped making stuff. Anyone know if he's good or why he stopped? I hope he's okay. But yeah, let me know. And on we move to les frères Ternant. Frères meaning brothers in French, hermano in Spanish. Anyways, twins. Really strong climbing twins. Probably climbing strongest twins. These 2 dudes from France, hence the whole Freres thing and all that, have been out in Rocklands for the past month, and each of them has sent an 8C of their own. Both of them, the first one. Why do twins do, it's so weird. Do everything the same. Strange. Now my sources say Arthur has sent the finish line while Mathieu has sent Monkey Wedding, but I can't tell them apart and I have no idea. Regardless, these are, for both of these guys, their first ever 8C, and I mean, this is at the very least the first finish line send of the season, but Monkey Wedding, man, I mean, that thing has been getting some serious mileage. I think something like 5 sends in a couple of weeks, which is wild. Anyway, congratulations to the brothers. Links in the description to their Instagram account, because they have only one of them and they share it between each other and they don't say who's done what, is in the description down below. And speaking of things that are not at all surprising, hey, someone said brain rot again. I did not see that one coming, like, at all. Vultures. But hey, Sam Weir, dude. Sam Weir looking strong as all hell recently. He suggested 8C for brain rot instead of the 8C plus Will Bosey suggested for the first descent. 3 sessions in total, making this his 12th ever 8C instead of his 4th 8C plus / V16. So yeah, this dude is legit, and not a lot of people out in the world have 3 V16 sends. Honestly, there's 25 people who have 3 or more of them. So it's a pretty exclusive club when you think about the fact that this is a worldwide sport. V16 isn't as big of a deal now that V17 is a thing, but like, you know, cannot forget that it's still crazy freaking hard and massively impressive. Next, let's talk firsts again, as Ethan Salvo became the first ever Canadian to climb 8C plus / V16 all the way back in June. Yeah, June. I'm aware this is August, but yeah, the dude just kind of didn't say anything, so, you know, weird. Why didn't he say anything? I have no clue. He wrote an article about it. You can find it on the Black Diamond website. Not about why he didn't say anything, but about his sends. Anywho, the guy not only sent the V16 Event Horizon, which is the first 8C plus to have ever been done in Squamish, FA'd by Katie Lamb's brother Andy, but he's also managed to send the Chris Sharma Ultra Classic 514D Dreamcatcher in the same month. And yes, he also talks about that in his article, which I highly recommend you go and take a look at. Links in the description down below. Anywho, not very much to say about it other than to throw out a huge congrats to Ethan for his send. Gonna throw in a link to Andy's FA of Event Horizon for anyone that wants to check that out and hasn't yet. And if anyone's curious, yeah, Event Horizon and Dreamcatcher are literally right next to each other. Actually, Dreamcatcher is more like a really, really, really big boulder and not actually a cliff face like you might otherwise be used to when you think about sport climbing. So he just kind of bouldered with a group, I guess. Kind of cool. And then I woke up this morning to a certain kerfuffle over on Reddit as people freaked the hell out over this thing. Yeah, route setters being tipped. Okay, this is too much. It's ridiculous. And honestly, it kind of comes at probably one of the worst times imaginable. Okay, so look, first things first, let's talk about this thing. It's an app. The idea is pretty simple. You can now send route setters at gyms a tip for having set a climb you like. You find your gym, find the boulder you enjoyed, the setter is listed under it, you send them X amount for whatever reason you might have. There's a 10% fee that's applied to your tip that covers both the payment processor Stripe's 2.9% plus 30-cent fees for each transaction and supports the platform itself. So doing the math here, on a $5 tip, 10% is deducted, meaning $4.50 go to the setter, 45 cents go to Stripe, and then 5 cents go to the people making this app. And look, the app and the developer claim that the intention behind all of this is to help route setters. It's a very well-known fact that setters are both undervalued and underpaid, with many barely making enough money to live in their respective cities. So, with that said, I'm just gonna give the developer in question the benefit of the doubt and assume he's not acting in bad faith, but rather is simply ignorant about the potential issues that could come from implementing tipping. And look, there are tons of arguments against tipping, the simplest of which is a business should pay their workers a living wage. Period. Tipping is nothing more than an excuse for businesses to offload the cost of hiring workers onto their customers. In the case of climbing gyms, for example, people who already pay hundreds of dollars per month would likely not see their membership costs go down and would instead find themselves guilted into spending more money on something that they, in theory, are already covering the cost of. Not to mention the fact that the setting of routes is a gym's product. It has nothing to do with hospitality. It is what you are paying for when you pay for a membership. To tip a setter for a route would be like tipping La Sportiva for making your solutions. But those aren't the only issues to think about here. Tipping in route setting also creates very imbalanced incentives. We all know what sort of routes are particularly popular. Most people aren't huge fans of ultra sandbagged crimp ladders, surprise, surprise. Most people like their egos stroked and enjoy Instagrammable jumps that make them look cool. Nothing wrong with that. Honestly, what type of climb is or isn't popular doesn't ultimately matter. What matters is that tipping would make the fact that certain types of climbing and grading are more or less popular explicitly known, meaning the more popular stuff would be very obvious to setters, and as such, they'd be incentivized to only set that stuff. Or it actually might be worse, as it would now fall on head setters to delegate different types of climbs to different setters who might find themselves in a position where they'd have to fight each other for who gets to set the popular stuff, creating ridiculous power imbalances. Like, what if a head setter really doesn't like someone and forces them to always set the techie sloper problems no one likes and leaves all the fun dynos for himself and his best friends? You see how big of a problem that could be, right? Like, this wouldn't just potentially affect someone's workplace environment, but would also potentially affect their entire livelihood as well. And if we're talking about the effects on workplace environment, this is a huge source for potential resentment between workers, desk staff, coaches, custodians, hell, even the people who strip the walls for the setters. All of them would be left behind, forced to try to live their lives paycheck to paycheck and feel the unfairness of the fact that setters get tipped and they do not. Which brings me to climbing's nationwide unionization efforts. All across the United States, more and more climbing gyms have successfully unionized and are currently fighting the owners of massive gym chains and corporations for cost of living adjustments. The only way to successfully do so is to present yourselves as a united front, a voice that forces the private equity owners of Movement, for example, to listen. Movement and Touchstone Climbing are two gym chains that have currently done everything in their power to make it practically impossible for the ratification of contracts. They've illegally fired workers, have frequently engaged in union-busting tactics, have refused to negotiate in good faith, and this tipping thing, it's honestly a freaking godsend for them. When the route setters at Touchstone went on strike back in March, one of the things they spoke to me about was how good it felt for them to see their coworkers stepping in and fighting for their rights right along with them. You had front desk staff, coaches, yoga teachers, all employees of Touchstone joining in at the picket line, fighting for their setters, for their coworkers, for their friends, for people who were being equally mistreated. Tipping drives a very significant financial wedge straight into the heart of that sentiment. It causes rifts in a union through resentment and inequality and gives the private equity firms behind all of this bullshit the ammunition they need to raise their hand and say, hey man, these people get enough through tips. We're not the bad guys here. It all but negates the work that's been done for the climbing community's employees for the past 5 years. And again, I want to give these developers some amount of benefit of the doubt, but at the same time, there is some serious financial incentives behind all of this that just cannot be ignored. Look, as I said, for every $5 that are tipped to a setter, tip your setter gets 5 cents. To their eternal credit, at least they're not taking a giant percentage. But while that percentage seems low at face value, if you crunch some numbers, okay, movement climbing gyms owned by private equity will jump at the opportunity this app is providing them. Paying their workers a living wage is not something they seem at all interested in doing. See my video on climbing gym unionization here. Safe to say this will probably be implemented in their gyms relatively quickly. Now, Movement owns 30 gyms across the United States. If each of those gyms were to reset once per week and were to put up, let's say 15 boulder problems each, that's 450 problems across Movement on a weekly basis. Were each of those problems to be tipped just $5, that's $2,250. And if these people are earning 5 cents for every dollar spent, their total cash in would be $112.5 per week. That's if we're talking about only $5 being tipped per boulder, which, let's be real here, with the way tipping culture basically twists your arm into dropping tons of money, will likely be far, far, far higher, and especially if the objective here is to significantly raise a setter's wages. And again, that's if only Movement Climbing decides to implement this. But of course, they won't be the only ones. Touchstone, another gym that's made it abundantly clear they are not interested in paying their workers living wages, will also jump at this opportunity for sure. And they own 20 gyms at this point. My point is, there are very clear financial incentives for tip your setters to be making this, ones that potentially could very much exceed their whole "we just want to help setters get paid" idea they claim to be all about. I mean, they're gonna be making bank. And so again, benefit of the doubt. I reached out to the developers for comment and haven't heard back from them yet. I will absolutely let you guys know what they say if they ever do. But more importantly, to the creator of Tip Your Setter, if you're watching this, please, if you really are about helping route setters, if you really want them to be able to be paid a living wage, stop what you're doing. Encourage them to unionize. Encourage them to fight for themselves and for their coworkers. Don't implement tipping, and don't set yourself up as a middleman poised for financial gain in an already exploitative environment, pretending to be a good guy. Just don't. And to everyone else, I gotta say the same. I'm linking Climbing Workers United's Instagram down in the description. Go check it out if you want more info about what's happening in the industry. Watch my video on the history of unionization in climbing gyms and maybe comment with your thoughts, because honestly, I'd love to know what everybody's thinking about all of this. And actually, a few of the comments on Reddit were talking about setting up some sort of app that could help pay outdoor route developers. You know, the people who take a ton of time out of their lives to build landings, clean rock, pay out of their own pockets for bolts, you know, the things you find on cliffs. If anyone out there knows anything about coding and is interested in helping me build something like that, please shoot me an email. Honestly, I feel like offsetting some of this crap somehow, and that seems like a great way to do so. So many unsung heroes out there that have dedicated a ridiculous amount of their lives to making climbing outdoors possible for everyone, for sure deserve to be thanked in some way. But hey, that was some climbing news. Hope you enjoyed yourself. As always, please don't forget to throw in a like, subscribe if you're liking what you're seeing and what I'm trying to build here and haven't done so yet. Comment with all opinions, questions, suggestions, etc. I'm sorry I missed last Friday's episode, but to be honest, not much was going on in the climbing world. I'm trying to figure out what to do when that happens. Might try making fun lists and general knowledge stuff. I don't know. But anyways, I will hopefully see you guys again on Friday for the regular show. But until then, and as always, go climb some stuff.